My wedding day, family absent. I called Mom, she laughed. You're up with your sister. My sister Taunted. She'll be divorced soon. I said nothing. Just sent a photo with a surprise guest. Mom kept calling. I smiled, turned off my phone, and walked down the aisle. The first whisper of winter arrived in Manhattan on a quiet afternoon, dusting the city in a delicate veil of white. Olivia Martin, fresh from an editorial meeting, found herself drawn to the office window, watching the snow descend from the pewter sky. A childlike wonder still stirred within her at the sight, a quiet satisfaction settling in her heart with each drifting flake. Olivia, have you read the new manuscript? It's quite good, her colleague Sarah chirped, pulling Olivia gently back to her desk. For a decade, Olivia had poured her passion into editing fiction at Harper Publishing, a mid-sized house. It wasn't the glamorous life some envisioned, but it was a calling she cherished. Phone call, Sarah gestured. Olivia instinctively reached for the desk phone, but Sarah shook her head. Your cell. A small sigh escaped Olivia's lips as she retrieved her mobile from her bag. The screen glowed with a single word. Mommy. Olivia, why aren't you answering your phone? I've called 3 times. Margaret Martin's voice, predictably sharp and insistent, cut through the line. I was working. Is something wrong? Olivia asked, bracing herself. You haven't forgotten about dinner tonight, have you? Olivia's eyes squeezed shut. The realization hit her with a jolt. Robert's 60th birthday celebration. Her stepfather, the man who had married her mother when Olivia was 15, was a distant, if not unkind, presence in her life. Their relationship was polite, nothing more. Of course I remember. 7, right? Olivia lied, a familiar knot forming in her stomach. 6:30. Amy has already contacted me to say she's arriving. She manages her schedule properly, it seems. Olivia bit back a retort. Her sister, Amy, was Margaret's crowning achievement, a constant benchmark against which Olivia was measured. Amy, a manager at an upscale boutique, possessed her mother's refined elegance and effortless social grace, a younger echo of Margaret herself. I'll do my best, Olivia replied simply. And Jeremy Williams is coming tonight too, remember him? The son of that real estate company. Do wear something decent for once. Olivia rolled her eyes. Her mother's relentless pursuit of a suitable husband for her was a tiresome, ongoing saga. Got it, she said, ending the call. Sarah watched her, a knowing glint in her eyes. Family dinner? Yes, my stepfather's birthday. And my mother's usual find-a-husband game. Who is it this time? The son of some real estate tycoon. Olivia shrugged. But I have Jason. Sarah smiled. Yes, Jason is a good man. Jason Clark, a former marketing whiz from an IT company, had transitioned to publishing 2 years prior. Their quiet romance had blossomed, and they had recently begun living together. Intellectual and kind, Jason, like Olivia, preferred a life devoid of pretense. His presence was Olivia's quiet strength, the calm before the storm of family gatherings. As the workday drew to a close, Olivia hurried back to her apartment. She rummaged through her wardrobe, searching for an outfit that might, just might, earn a flicker of approval from her mother. She settled on a navy blue dress, applying her makeup with more care than usual, and pulling her hair back in a simple, elegant style. Climbing into a taxi, she sent a quick message to Jason. Heading to a family dinner. Not sure if I'll make it back alive. Love you. His reply was immediate. Have fun. I'll prepare a special breakfast for tomorrow morning. Love you. Olivia smiled, the warmth of his words a shield against the impending family drama. Upon arriving at Margaret and Robert's opulent Upper East Side apartment, a bastion of Manhattan's elite, the party was already in full swing. Margaret, resplendent in an expensive gown, her makeup flawless, opened the door. Finally here, she said, kissing Olivia's cheek while her eyes critically assessed Olivia's dress. You should have worn something with more color. Inside, Amy, radiant in a crimson cocktail dress, was already engaged in conversation with a young man. Spotting Olivia, she flashed a theatrical smile. Finally here! Everyone's been waiting. Olivia offered a tight smile and turned to her stepfather. Happy birthday, Robert. He nodded his appreciation, quickly resuming his conversation with other guests. As the evening wore on, Olivia retreated to a quiet corner, a silent observer of her family's elaborate performance. Margaret, the quintessential hostess, glided through the room, while Amy effortlessly captivated the attention of every eligible young man. Their values were starkly clear: social standing, outward appearances, and the covetous gaze of others. At the dinner table, Margaret strategically placed Olivia next to the real estate prince. He droned on about his company's triumphs, while Olivia offered polite nods and murmured, "How wonderful," at appropriate intervals. So Olivia's still working at that little publishing house? Amy's voice dripped with sarcasm. Yes, we published 3 bestsellers this year, Olivia replied quietly. But isn't it time you started thinking about real life? Margaret interjected, her gaze pointed. Marriage and family. At your age, you don't have much time left. Olivia took a deep breath. This was it. Actually, I have something to tell you. 3 months had passed since their engagement announcement, and only 2 weeks remained until the wedding. On a bright Saturday morning, spring sunlight filtering through their Manhattan apartment, Olivia and Jason sat, meticulously reviewing their wedding checklist. Catering confirmed, flowers decided, just a final guest list, Olivia murmured, ticking off items with a pen. Jason placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. Any response from your family? Olivia sighed softly. Margaret and Amy's reactions to her engagement had been entirely predictable. You're marrying that man? There are men with better prospects, her mother had scoffed. Amy, ever the sharp-tongued mimic, had remarked. Just like you, sis, always choosing the ordinary. Robert, true to form, had offered no opinion, but his silence clearly aligned him with his wife. Not yet, but Mom said yesterday she'd think about it, Olivia admitted. Jason squeezed her hand. It's okay. We have my family, and most importantly, we have each other. Olivia smiled, a genuine warmth spreading through her. Jason's parents were wonderfully supportive, embracing Olivia as their own from their very first meeting. There's one thing I'm concerned about, Olivia confessed quietly. My grandmother, Eleanor. Eleanor Griffin, Margaret's mother, held a special place in Olivia's heart. Since childhood, Eleanor had been her refuge, a warm embrace whenever Margaret's demands became too much. I haven't been allowed to see her since she was diagnosed with severe dementia 10 years ago, Olivia explained. According to Mom, she's in a special nursing facility where outings are impossible and visits are prohibited because meeting strangers causes her to panic. But you want to invite her to the wedding? Jason understood the unspoken longing. Of course, but Mom adamantly refuses to allow it. No matter how many times I ask, she keeps saying it's impossible. Olivia rose and retrieved an old album from the shelf. It showed a teenage Olivia, beaming beside an elegant, white-haired woman. Eleanor had lived in a spacious old mansion in the Boston suburbs, managing it alone since her husband's death. She was a woman of culture, a lover of the arts, and someone who truly knew how to savor life. Grandmother was someone special to me. She was the only one who recognized my worth. She always told me, Olivia, follow your heart. Jason gazed at the photos. She seems like a wonderful person. The phone rang, startling Olivia. She picked up. Hello? Olivia, I'm sorry, but I can't make it to the wedding meeting next week. Margaret's voice came through. Something urgent came up. Olivia tried to mask her dismay. What kind of urgent matter? Amy got promoted. We need to celebrate. Besides, haven't you done enough wedding preparation already? After hanging up, Olivia sank onto the sofa. Mom won't help with the wedding preparations. Jason sat beside her, his arm around her shoulders. You have Sarah, and my mother would be happy to help too. Late that night, Olivia's smartphone chimed. It was a message from Rachel, a former colleague. Olivia, you might not believe this, but I happened to see your mother and sister in Paris. They were relaxing at a cafe near the Eiffel Tower. I took a photo, so I'm sending it to you. The attached image clearly showed Margaret and Amy, champagne glasses raised, their faces alight with smiles in a Parisian cafe. Olivia's hands trembled. Jason, she whispered, showing him the photo. Anger flashed across Jason's face. They're in Europe now? But on the phone, she said something urgent. Olivia instinctively dialed Margaret's number. After a long ring, her mother's voice, laced with irritation, finally answered. Olivia, it's the middle of the night. What do you want? Mom, where are you? Olivia's voice was eerily calm. After a moment of silence, Margaret replied, Paris. We're on a European trip to celebrate Amy's promotion. And my wedding? Olivia's voice was barely a whisper. Oh, didn't you know? We're planning to return after the wedding. This was the only time Amy could take a vacation. Olivia was speechless. Margaret had confessed, without a hint of remorse, that she would not be attending the most important day in her eldest daughter's life. Let me talk. Amy's voice cut in from the background. Soon, she was on the phone. Sis, why are you making such a fuss? Why should we waste time on a marriage that will probably end in divorce soon anyway? Tears welled in Olivia's eyes, her heart turning to ice at her sister's cruel words. Fine, enjoy your trip, she said, hanging up. Jason held her tightly. I'm sorry, Olivia. It's okay, she said quietly. Actually, I expected this. That's why I chose my own life. Yet, late that night, Olivia cried silently in bed. Her family's betrayal, though anticipated, had left a deep, aching wound. Her thoughts drifted to her grandmother, Eleanor, whom she hadn't been allowed to see for a decade. Grandma, if only you were here now. Suddenly, a thought sparked. With Margaret in Europe, wasn't this her chance to visit Eleanor? Margaret had always refused to reveal the facility's name or location, citing the need to avoid stimulation. But her friend Lisa, a lawyer, might know a way. Olivia sprang out of bed, a fierce determination igniting within her. She would contact Lisa tomorrow. Could she visit Eleanor and invite her to the wedding? It was a reckless idea, but right now, she desperately needed the hope of reuniting with her grandmother. Grandma, I will come see you, Olivia whispered to the starry sky outside her window. And I'll tell you everything that's happened during these 10 years we couldn't meet. On the morning of her wedding day, sunlight streamed through Olivia's Manhattan apartment, filtering between the towering buildings. Her wedding dress hung on the door, its white fabric gleaming in the soft light. Olivia sat on the edge of her bed, staring at her phone. No contact from her family. Jason, honoring tradition, had stayed at the Brooklyn hotel where the wedding would take place, claiming it was unlucky to see the bride before the wedding. An hour later, her best friend and maid of honor, Sarah, burst in, a large makeup bag in hand. Good morning, bride! The day has finally come! Thank you for coming. Olivia smiled, though a flicker of sadness shadowed her eyes. Sarah noticed. She sat beside her friend. Thinking about your family? Olivia nodded. I never thought I'd be walking down the aisle alone. You're not alone, Sarah reassured her. Jason's father said he'd be happy to walk with you, remember? Yes. Olivia smiled, remembering Thomas, Jason's kind father, who had embraced her like a daughter from their first meeting. But I still wish I could have seen Grandma Eleanor. Last week, with Lisa's help, Olivia had tried to locate Eleanor. However, Margaret had been appointed Eleanor's legal guardian, making any information about the facility nearly impossible to obtain. It'll work out, Sarah said, just as Olivia's phone rang. It was an unknown number. Hello, is this Miss Martin? Miss Olivia Martin? A gentle female voice inquired. Yes, it is. This is Nancy Johnson from Riverside Care Center. I'm calling about your grandmother, Eleanor Griffin. Olivia's heart leaped. My grandmother? Is something wrong? No, your grandmother is fine. It's just that she's been insisting on going out this morning. She says she wants to attend my granddaughter's wedding. Olivia was speechless. Sarah looked at her with concern. But according to our records, there's no mention of your wedding today, and we've been instructed by Miss Margaret Martin not to allow any outings that might confuse Eleanor. Olivia took a deep breath. Where is the facility located? In Manhattan's Upper West Side, West 79th Street. Olivia noted the address, promising to come immediately. After hanging up, she explained the situation to Sarah. You're going now? The wedding is at 4. Sarah was astonished. I have to go. I haven't been able to see my grandmother for 10 years. This might be my last chance. Sarah sighed, but a small smile touched her lips. All right, I'll come with you. They canceled the makeup artist and hailed a taxi. Olivia's heart pounded with a mix of anxiety and burgeoning hope. For a decade, Margaret had insisted Eleanor had severe dementia, making outings and visits impossible. Yet, the nurse's words suggested Eleanor possessed enough clarity to remember her granddaughter's wedding and request to attend. Riverside Care Center was nestled in a quiet location overlooking the Hudson River, more akin to a luxurious retirement home than a specialized nursing facility. When Olivia and Sarah gave their names at the reception, a staff member appeared, her expression slightly weary. Miss Martin, you're not on Eleanor's visitor list. I am her granddaughter. I haven't seen her for 10 years, but today is my wedding day. Please let me see her. Olivia's voice trembled, yet it was laced with fierce determination. Please wait a moment. The woman left her desk to consult with someone who seemed to be her superior. I hope this works. Sarah squeezed Olivia's hand. After a few tense moments, a middle-aged man approached them. Miss Martin, I'm David Clark, the manager of this facility. I understand the situation. Actually, Eleanor is one of our most active and healthy residents. She has mild dementia, but it doesn't interfere with her daily life, and she lives quite independently. Olivia was utterly bewildered. But my mother said my grandmother had severe dementia and couldn't go out or have visitors. David's expression became difficult. We were instructed by Miss Margaret to avoid causing confusion to Eleanor by limiting visitors and outings. However, according to the doctor's diagnosis, Eleanor can go out with appropriate accompaniment. A wave of anger washed over Olivia. Margaret had been lying for 10 years. Please let me see my grandmother, she said quietly, her voice trembling with suppressed fury. David guided her to an elevator and took her to a bright lounge on the 3rd floor. When the white-haired woman sitting in a chair by the window turned, Olivia couldn't hold back her tears. Eleanor. Grandma. Eleanor's face was etched with fine wrinkles, but her blue eyes were as sharp and intelligent as they had been a decade ago. Seeing Olivia, she slowly rose. Olivia? Is it really you? Eleanor's voice had weakened slightly, but her face was alight with pure joy. They embraced, holding each other for a long, silent moment. Olivia's tears fell onto Eleanor's shoulder. Why didn't you come to see me until now? Eleanor asked quietly. Olivia explained everything, how Margaret had consistently claimed Eleanor had severe dementia, making outings and visits impossible, and how she hadn't even been told the facility's location. Sadness shadowed Eleanor's eyes. She falsified my condition to gain control of my assets. When I was diagnosed with dementia, there was indeed a period when I was temporarily confused, but it was never that severe. Yet Margaret declared me incapable of judgment and began managing my property. Olivia was shocked. That's terrible. Margaret and Amy have been living a luxurious life using my retirement funds. I know they stopped visiting me so they could go on European trips. Sarah entered the room with David. Olivia, we don't have much time. It's already noon. Olivia held Eleanor's hand tightly. Grandma, I'm getting married today. I want you to come with me. Eleanor's face brightened. Of course I'll come. But since Margaret hasn't given permission. David cleared his throat. Actually, according to the doctor's judgment, Eleanor can go out temporarily as long as she has proper accompaniment. There's no legal issue. I'll take full responsibility, Olivia said firmly. Hours later, thanks to Sarah's swift arrangements, a stylist had done Eleanor's hair and makeup. Dressed in an elegant gown Olivia had prepared in advance, Eleanor looked years younger. Arriving at the hotel and getting ready, Olivia made a decision. She took out her smartphone and snapped a picture, Olivia in her wedding dress, Eleanor in her elegant attire, sitting proudly in the mother-of-the-bride seat, both smiling radiantly. Olivia sent that photo to Margaret and Amy. The attached message was simple: "With my real family." Immediately, Margaret's calls began ringing, once, twice, 3 times. Olivia turned off her smartphone and smiled at Eleanor. "Let's go, Grandma. Will you walk down the aisle with me?" Eleanor nodded, tears streaming down her face. "It would be my honor, Olivia." As the wedding march began to play, Olivia took Eleanor's arm. Surrounded by the warm smiles of friends and Jason's family gathered at the venue, they slowly began walking down the aisle. At the altar, Jason waited for her, his eyes filled with love. This is real family, Olivia thought to herself, a family bound by love and respect. Wedding bells rang out, and the garden of the small Brooklyn hotel was filled with blessings as Olivia and Jason exchanged a kiss. Applause erupted from the gathered guests. They walked hand in hand, smiling at the attendees. Eleanor, in the front row, wiped away tears of joy. At the reception, Eleanor became the undeniable center of attention. Everyone was captivated by her elegance, intelligence, sharp wit, and insightful observations. Colleagues from the publishing house eagerly discussed literature with Eleanor, and Jason's parents warmly welcomed her into their family circle. "Your grandmother is a wonderful person," Jason's mother, Helen, whispered to Olivia. "There's no sign of dementia anywhere." Olivia smiled. "She does have mild dementia, but nothing like what Mom claimed. It was a lie to make people think Grandma couldn't manage her own assets." Helen frowned. "That's terrible. I'm considering legal action," Olivia answered quietly. "But today, I just want to feel happy." On the dance floor, Jason gently guided Eleanor, and they danced gracefully to a quiet melody. Watching the scene, Olivia felt her heart swell. In this moment, she was surrounded by family in the truest sense. The day after the wedding, Olivia and Jason took Eleanor back to Riverside Care Center. Before leaving, Eleanor gripped her granddaughter's hand tightly. "You'll come back, won't you?" There was a flicker of anxiety in her eyes. "Of course, Grandma. I'll never leave you again," Olivia promised. When they returned to their apartment, Olivia's cell phone had been ringing continuously. She exchanged glances with Jason, took a deep breath, and answered. "Olivia, what is the meaning of this?" Margaret's angry voice resonated. "Of what, Mom?" Olivia replied calmly. "You took Mother out of the facility without permission. She's a dementia patient. Do you realize how dangerous that is?" Grandma enjoyed the wedding. She conversed with many people and even danced. "That's it. It might be a temporary improvement. Dementia has such moments." Margaret's voice wavered slightly. "Come to our apartment in 3 hours. We need to talk," Olivia said and hung up. Afterward, Olivia contacted Lisa for legal advice. She wanted to be prepared before Margaret arrived. Just after noon, the doorbell of the Manhattan apartment rang. Margaret and Amy stood there, both looking tired, still suffering from jet lag. "Come in." Olivia guided them to the living room. Jason was in the kitchen, but after greeting them, he said, "You should talk alone," and went out. "First, I want an explanation," Margaret began as soon as she sat down. "Why did you take Mother out without permission?" Olivia answered calmly. "Grandma has mild dementia, but it's not as severe as you claimed. Why didn't you let me see her for 10 years? It was for Mother's sake. The doctor said it was important not to stimulate her." "Really?" Olivia placed documents on the table. "Here's the medical diagnosis from Riverside Care Center. It clearly states that Grandma can go out with appropriate accompaniment, and that family interaction is beneficial for maintaining cognitive function." Margaret stumbled for words, and Amy looked anxiously at her mother. "That's not all, is it?" Olivia continued. "I heard from Grandma you falsified her condition to gain control of her assets." The color drained from Margaret's face. "Let's not." Stop lying. Olivia's voice trembled, but was full of strong will. Lisa investigated for me. Hundreds of thousands of dollars have been withdrawn from Grandma's assets over the past 10 years. Where did that money go? After a long silence, Margaret's shoulders slumped. All right. Her voice became small. At first, I really thought it was for Mother's sake. She was temporarily confused, and I thought it would be safer if I managed her assets. But as time passed, you used it for your and Amy's luxurious lifestyle. Olivia said coldly. We have rights too. Amy suddenly raised her voice. Grandma's money belongs to the family. She can't possibly use it all anyway. Olivia looked at Amy with stern eyes. That's a thief's excuse. What do you intend to do? Margaret asked, looking tired. I've consulted with a lawyer. I plan to start legal proceedings to transfer Grandma's asset management rights to me and to investigate the misused funds. Margaret and Amy looked at each other, fear flickering in their eyes. If you do that, we'll go bankrupt. Amy cried out. Our life until now. You have options, Olivia said calmly. First, I proceed with legal action as I just mentioned. Second, Mom voluntarily relinquishes control of Grandma's assets and plans to repay the money used. Margaret was silent for a long time, but eventually said in a small voice, I choose the second option. The conversation moved to negotiating specific conditions and discussing Eleanor's future life. Margaret initially insisted on taking Eleanor into her own home, but Olivia refused. Grandma will live near my husband and me. I plan to find a small house where we can spend weekends together. Of course, Mom and Amy are welcome to visit. When the conversation concluded, Margaret stood up, looking utterly drained. I'll go now. At the door, she turned back. Olivia, I'm not as cold-hearted as you think. I just made the wrong choices. I know, Mom, Olivia replied quietly. But it will take time to rebuild trust. After Margaret and Amy left, Olivia sank into the sofa and heaved a deep sigh. Jason returned and sat next to her. Are you okay? He asked gently. Olivia rested her head on his shoulder. I'm fine now. Grandma can be free, and we can create a real family. On Christmas morning, a year after the wedding, Olivia gazed out the window of her new home in the New York suburbs, at the snow accumulated in the garden. She and Jason had purchased a house in this quiet residential area 6 months ago, moving from Brooklyn. A small cottage where Eleanor lived was a 5-minute walk from their house. Coffee? Jason offered a mug, his warm smile filling Olivia with contentment. Thank you. Is Grandma still sleeping? No, she's already up, decorating the Christmas tree. She said she wants to finish it before breakfast. Olivia smiled. Eleanor had become remarkably energetic over the past year. Her assets were properly managed, and the balance between appropriate independence and family support had a profoundly positive effect on her health. The doctor confirmed her dementia's progression had stopped. Daily walks with Jason, reading sessions with Olivia, and volunteering at the local senior center twice a week gave her a renewed sense of purpose. It's going to be lively today, Olivia said. Yes, my parents are looking forward to it too. Jason's parents had been staying at a hotel since yesterday. On the table lay an unopened letter from Margaret. She and Amy had also been invited to dinner today. Rebuilding the relationship hadn't been easy. Margaret and Robert had divorced, and Margaret, ordered by the court to return the misappropriated funds from Eleanor's assets, could no longer live the luxurious life she once had. Amy, too, had lost her job as manager at the upscale boutique and had taken a more modest position. As Olivia had worried, the repayment plan had significantly changed their lives, but it had also become an unexpected opportunity for them to learn humility. A few months ago, Margaret had, for the first time, acknowledged her mistakes and apologized to Olivia and Eleanor. You still can't forgive your mother? Jason asked gently. Olivia thought deeply. The word forgive was easy, but rebuilding trust took time. But at least today is Christmas. It might be a chance for a new beginning. Eleanor poked her head out from the living room. Would you two help me with the decorations? Olivia and Jason stood up, smiling. As the three of them decorated the tree together, Olivia was enveloped in a feeling of profound gratitude. Life wasn't perfect, but she was now surrounded by true family. In the afternoon, the doorbell rang. Margaret and Amy stood there, either dressed in the flashy clothes they once wore, but in simple, subdued outfits. Margaret held a small present in her hand. "Merry Christmas," she said, looking a bit nervous. "Merry Christmas, Mom." Olivia smiled and invited them in. "Come in, everyone's waiting." In the living room, Eleanor sat on the sofa, talking animatedly with Jason's parents. When she saw Margaret and Amy, there was a moment of palpable tension, but Eleanor smiled gently. "I'm glad you came." The time around the dinner table was initially awkward, but gradually, conversation began to flow. Margaret and Amy even began to smile at Eleanor's witty stories. True family isn't just about blood ties, but about respecting and supporting each other, Eleanor said, raising her wine glass. "Here's to everyone here today." Olivia clasped Jason's hand as she quietly clinked glasses. Her other hand rested on her slightly swollen belly. She hadn't told anyone yet about the new life growing inside her. She planned to announce it tonight, at this gathering of her true family. To new beginnings, Olivia thought to herself, and to the bonds of true family.